The stars twinkled peacefully above the Montana night sky as Dr. Elaine Morgan stared through her personal telescope. Unlike the tourists and amateur stargazers who came to admire the beauty of the cosmos, she watched with growing concern. 4. 6 months now, she had been tracking the movement of objects that shouldn't exist according to public astronomy records. "They're moving faster now," she muttered, making notes on her tablet. "Acceleration pattern matches our predictions." Doctor Morgan wasn't just any scientist. As the head of the Global Defense Initiative, an organization so secret that fewer than 300 people on Earth knew of its existence, she had access to information that would terrify the average person. Humanity was not alone in the universe, and not all alien civilizations were friendly. Her secure phone buzzed. The caller ID displayed White House. "Morgan here," she answered, keeping her voice steady despite knowing what this call meant. "The President has authorized Phase 3, said the calm voice of Secretary of Defense William Boyd. "The visitors will reach our detection perimeter in 48 hours. "I'll activate the command center immediately," Dr. Morgan replied. "Has Captain Russell been notified? He's being brought in now. His submarine docked in San Diego an hour ago." Dr. Morgan ended the call and looked once more at the stars. Somewhere up there, the Aldebaranian Empire's advance fleet was approaching, thinking they had found another easy conquest. They had no idea what waited for them. Captain Frank Russell stepped out of the military helicopter onto the unmarked landing pad nestled in the Rocky Mountains. After 15 years commanding nuclear submarines, he thought he had top security. Clearance. The folder he'd been handed upon returning from patrol proved otherwise. A stern-faced woman in a lab coat approached him. "Captain Russell, I'm Dr. Elaine Morgan. Welcome to Olympus Base." "Ma'am," he said, saluting out of habit, though he wasn't sure if it was appropriate. The folder had mentioned she was a civilian, but with authority that superseded military chain of command in certain matters. "The brief I received was ... unusual." "Follow me," she said with a tight smile. "Everything will make more sense once you see what we've been working on." They entered what looked like a simple mountain research station, but quickly passed through multiple security checkpoints, each more advanced than anything Russell had seen before. After the 7th security door, they entered an elevator that descended deep into the mountain. "We're about to trust you with information only 286 people on Earth are cleared to know," Dr. Morgan explained as the elevator dropped rapidly. "The President added your name to the list personally." "Why me?" Russell asked. "Because when the time comes, you'll be commanding our first response vessel." The elevator doors opened to reveal a massive underground complex bustling with activity. Scientists, military personnel, and technicians moved with purpose through a facility that stretched beyond what Russell could see. In the center stood a holographic display showing the solar system, with a cluster of red dots approaching Earth. "What am I looking at, Doctor?" Russell asked, though he already suspected the answer. "The advanced scout fleet of the Aldebaranian Empire," Dr. Morgan said. "A civilization that has conquered over 300 worlds across 3 galaxies. They believe we're just another primitive species ready for harvesting." Russell's military training kept his face neutral, but his mind raced. "How long have we known about them?" "We detected their communications network 27 years ago," she replied, leading him toward a large conference room where about a dozen people waited. "That's when the GDI was formed. Every major nation has been secretly contributing their brightest minds and resources to prepare for this moment." Inside the conference room, Dr. Morgan introduced Russell to the team: scientists, military strategists, and government officials from countries that were public enemies on the world stage. "Captain Russell," said a tall man with a Russian accent, "I am General Petrov. On the surface, our nations point nuclear weapons at each other. Down here, We have been allies for decades." An elegant woman in a Chinese military uniform nodded. "General Li Mei, People's Liberation Army Space Command. We have studied the Aldebaranians extensively. They follow the same pattern with every world they conquer." Dr. Morgan gestured to a chair. "Please sit. You need to understand what we're facing." The lights dimmed, and a holographic presentation began, showing the history of human preparation for this moment. Russell watched in amazement as he learned the truth. The rapid advancement of technology over the past few decades hadn't been entirely human innovation. Some had been reverse engineered from studying Aldebaranian communications, quantum computing, advanced AI, fusion energy, Dr. Morgan explained. "We've made leaps by understanding their technology from afar, but we've developed something they don't have." She nodded to a quiet man in the corner who had yet to introduce himself. He stood and touched a control panel. The center of the table opened, revealing a small device that glowed with a blue light. "This is the Sunburst Core," the man said with a soft voice. "It can generate a quantum field that allows us to manipulate energy in ways the Aldebaranians haven't discovered." "And you want me to command a vessel equipped with this technology?" Russell asked. Dr. Morgan nodded. "The USS Defiant. It's been built in secret for 15 years. On the surface, it appears to be an ordinary naval vessel. In reality, it's humanity's most advanced weapons platform." A screen showed an image of what looked like a standard destroyer. Russell knew appearances could be deceiving. "When will they arrive?" he asked. "Their scout ship will enter our orbit tomorrow," General Li Mei said. "Based on their patterns, they will demand our surrender, demonstrate their power, and then give us time to panic before their main fleet arrives." "And what's our response?" Russell asked. Dr. Morgan's expression hardened. "We let them think we're scared. We let them think we're primitive. Ambassador Alan Carter will play the role of terrified human representative. And then?" Russell pressed. "And then," Dr. Morgan said with a cold smile, "when their main fleet arrives expecting an easy conquest, we show them exactly how dangerous humanity can be." The quiet man spoke again. "Our calculations indicate we can neutralize their entire fleet in approximately 45 seconds. Russell looked around the room at the faces of people who had been preparing for this moment for most of their careers. "You're talking about destroying thousands of ships?" "We're talking about defending our planet," Dr. Morgan corrected. "We've studied their records. They've wiped out civilizations that refused to submit. Billions of lives lost. We don't intend to join that list." A technician burst into the room. "Dr. Morgan, we've detected the scout ship accelerating. New estimated arrival, 6 hours." The atmosphere in the room changed instantly. Years of planning were about to be put to the test. "Captain Russell," Dr. Morgan said, "it's time to board. Your ship, humanity's first interstellar battle, is about to begin." The Aldebaranian scout ship entered Earth's orbit with a flash of light. Massive and sleek, it resembled a silver arrowhead stretching nearly 2 miles in length. Regular humans watching the skies saw only what seemed to be a new, unusually bright star. Government officials around the world activated their prepared cover stories about a rare astronomical event, urging calm while secretly preparing their nations for what was to come. In the United Nations building in New York, Ambassador Alan Carter adjusted his tie nervously. Not because he feared the aliens, he had known about them for years, but because his acting skills would now be put to the test. As Earth's chosen representative, he needed to convince the Aldebaranians that humanity was afraid and unprepared. "Remember," said his aide, Susan Miller, "appear confused and intimidated. We need them overconfident." Carter nodded. 15 years at the State Department, and my greatest diplomatic achievement will be pretending to be a frightened mouse." A technician approached them. "Ambassador, They're broadcasting on all frequencies. Every television, radio, phone, and computer on Earth is receiving their message. The screens in the room flickered, showing a humanoid figure with pale blue skin and eyes too large for its narrow face. The Aldebaranian commander spoke in a deep, resonant voice that had been quickly translated by GDI's advanced AI systems. People of Earth, I am Commander Drax of the Aldebaranian Empire. Your planet is now under our protection and control. Resistance is both futile and unnecessary. We bring order to chaos, advancement to primitives, and purpose to the purposeless. You will surrender your resources, accept our governance, and join the greatest civilization in the known universe. Carter stepped before the camera that would transmit his response. He let his hands tremble slightly, a touch he had practiced. For weeks. Commander Drax, he said, voice intentionally unsteady. I am Ambassador Alan Carter of Earth. Your arrival is unexpected. We are a peaceful planet. We have no quarrel with your empire. Perhaps we could discuss terms that would benefit both our worlds? The alien's expression didn't change, but a sound like cold laughter came through the speakers. There are no terms to discuss, Earth creature. We have studied your world. You have resources we require, and a population suitable for labor. Your technology is primitive. Your weapons are insignificant. Your divisions make you weak. The Aldebaranian Empire does not negotiate with species at your development level. Carter glanced off camera at Susan, who nodded encouragingly. He was playing his part perfectly. Please, Carter continued, allowing desperation to enter his voice. We need time to prepare our people. Such a transition would cause panic. Commander Drax seemed to consider this. Very well. As a demonstration of our power and your helplessness, we will deploy a small force to your United Nations location. You have one planetary rotation to inform your population of their new status. When our main fleet arrives tomorrow, all resistance will be met with immediate elimination of population centers. The transmission ended. Carter's shoulders slumped in relief. Well done, Susan said. They bought it completely. Carter's phone buzzed with a message from GDI headquarters. Sunburst defense grid at 100% readiness. Landing craft approaching your position. Remember protocols. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Morgan watched the exchange on a large screen. Around her, the command center hummed with controlled activity. No panic, no raised voices, just the quiet confidence of people who had prepared for this moment for decades. They're following the exact pattern we predicted, she said to Captain Russell, who stood beside her in his new uniform. The insignia of the USS Defiant gleamed on his collar. They'll send down a small force to scare us and report back that we're helpless. Russell nodded. The Defiant is ready. Crew is aboard, and the Sunburst system is integrated with the ship's controls. On another screen, they watched as 3 smaller craft detached from the main Aldebaranian vessel and descended toward New York. Energy. Signatures match previous observations from their conquered worlds, reported Olivia Bennett, the chief engineer responsible for the Sunburst technology. Standard troop carriers with limited weapon systems. Dr. Morgan activated her secure communication. Link, all stations, this is Morgan. Prepare for defensive demonstration. Target landing crafts only. Repeat, landing crafts only. We want the scout ship to report back. Around the world, hidden defense platforms silently powered up. Satellites that appeared to be ordinary communications or weather monitoring systems revealed their true purpose. Underground installations activated energy systems that had been tested and refined in secret for years. The 3 Aldebaranian landing craft broke through the cloud cover above New York City, their engines causing windows to rattle in buildings below. People on the streets pointed upward in fear and amazement as the alien vessels descended in the UN building. Ambassador Carter and his team evacuated along with everyone else, maintaining their cover. Only once they were in their secure vehicle did Carter drop the frightened act. "Is everything in position?" he asked his driver, who was actually a GDI operative. "Yes, sir. Dr. Morgan is handling it personally." Inside the command center, Dr. Morgan nodded to Olivia Bennett. "Execute Defensive Measure 1. Bennett's fingers flew across her control panel. Targeting systems locked. Quantum field stabilized. Firing solution ready. "Fire," Dr. Morgan said. Calmly there was no beam of light, no visible weapon discharge. The air around the 3 Aldebaranian landing craft simply shimmered for a brief moment. Then all 3 vessels simultaneously lost power and dropped from the sky. Before they could crash into the city below, another shimmer of energy surrounded them, gently lowering them to empty areas in Central Park, on the main Aldebaranian scout ship. Commander Drax watched in disbelief as his landing craft were neutralized with technology his sensors couldn't even detect. His second-in-command approached cautiously. "Commander, our landing craft report complete systems failure. No casualties, but all their technology is disabled. The humans have technology we didn't detect." Drax narrowed his large eyes. "Impossible. Our scans showed only primitive defense systems. Nothing that could neutralize our craft so efficiently. Perhaps they received help from another civilization?" The second-in-command suggested. DRAX considered this possibility. "We must report to the main fleet. The Grand Admiral needs to know the humans have some limited defensive capabilities. It changes nothing about our conquest, but we will need to adjust our approach." As the scout ship broke orbit to rendezvous with the approaching main fleet, Dr. Morgan and her team monitored its departure. "They took the bait," Russell said. "They think we just have some defensive technology, not that we could destroy their entire fleet." Dr. Morgan nodded. "According to our intelligence, the main Aldebaranian fleet will arrive in approximately 18 hours. We should expect around 2,000 warships." "And we can handle that many?" Russell asked, though he already knew the answer. "The Sunburst system doesn't care if it's targeting 1 ship or 10,000, Dr. Morgan replied. "The quantum field treats them all as energy patterns that can be disrupted simultaneously." President Julia Hammond's face appeared on a secure screen. "Dr. Morgan, Captain Russell. Good work. The UN demonstration went exactly as planned. Is the Defiant ready for deployment?" "Yes, Madam President," Russell confirmed. "My crew is prepared and the ship is at full operational capacity." "Then may God be with you all," the President said solemnly. "In 18 hours, the fate of humanity will be decided, not by surrender, but by showing the stars exactly what humans are capable of when threatened." As the screen went dark, Russell turned to Dr. Morgan. "I should get to my ship." She nodded, offering her hand. "Good luck, Captain. Remember, when the main fleet arrives, let them make the first move. Let them think they have the upper hand. And then, Russell finished with a grim smile, "we show them why it was a mistake to threaten Earth." The sky above Earth darkened as the Aldebaranian main fleet arrived. 2,000 warships, each one bigger than the largest human aircraft carrier, took position in a sphere surrounding the planet. From the ground, people could see them as moving stars crossing the sky in perfect formation. Panic spread in cities worldwide, despite government efforts to maintain calm. Captain Frank Russell stood on the bridge of the USS Defiant. Hidden beneath the waters of the Atlantic Ocean, the ship looked like a normal submarine from the outside, but inside it contained technology beyond anything publicly known to exist. His crew of 50 men and women were the best Earth had to offer, selected from navies around the world and trained in secret for years. "All systems ready, Captain," reported his executive officer, Commander Lily Rodriguez. Sunburst core is stable and fully charged. Russell nodded, his eyes fixed on the display showing the alien fleet above them. Maintain silent running. Remember, we wait for their first move. In the Rocky Mountain Command Center, Dr. Morgan watched the same display. President Hammond had joined her, along with the defense ministers of 20 nations. All differences between countries had been set aside in the face of this threat. They're positioning for maximum intimidation, Dr. Morgan explained. It's psychological warfare. They want us to see their numbers and lose hope. President Hammond's face remained calm. When do we expect their ultimatum? Any moment now. Once Grand Admiral Krell makes contact, we'll activate the silent protocol. As if on cue, every communication device on Earth simultaneously broadcast the same message. On screens worldwide appeared the image of Grand Admiral Krell, Supreme Commander of the Aldebaranian fleet. Unlike Commander Drax, Krell was massive, with ridged skin and eyes that glowed with an unnatural purple light. People of Earth, his voice boomed in every language simultaneously. I am Grand Admiral Krell of the Aldebaranian Empire. Your pathetic attempt at resistance has been noted. Such defiance is unusual for a species at your development level, but ultimately meaningless. The alien paused, his massive face filling screens everywhere. I command 2,000 warships, each capable of reducing your largest cities to ash in seconds. We have conquered worlds far more advanced than yours. Species with technology you cannot imagine submitted to our might after witnessing only a fraction of our power. In the UN building, Ambassador Carter once again played his role, standing before the camera with carefully rehearsed fear. Grand Admiral, please. We have families, children. Surely there is a peaceful solution? Krell's laugh shook speakers worldwide. Peace is submission, Earth creature. Nothing less. You have 1 hour to surrender control of your governments to our appointed regents. After that, we will destroy 1 major city every hour until you comply. The transmission ended. Across the planet, genuine fear mixed with the carefully orchestrated response of those who knew the truth. President Hammond nodded to Dr. Morgan. Activate the silent protocol. Dr. Morgan pressed her palm against a scanner. Silent protocol activated. Throughout the world, a carefully designed communication shutdown began. Cell phone networks failed. Internet connections dropped. Television and radio broadcasts went silent. To the watching Aldebaranians, it appeared that Earth was descending into chaos, unable even to maintain basic communication systems in their panic dot. In reality, a secondary communication network, hidden from alien detection, remained fully operational. Military and government officials continued to coordinate worldwide, preparing for humanity's response. President Hammond addressed the assembled leaders in the command center. For decades, we have prepared for this day. While our people believe, we've been fighting amongst ourselves. We have been secretly building the means to defend our planet against any threat from beyond our atmosphere. She turned to face the main screen. I will now address the nation one final time before we reveal our true capabilities. On the limited broadcast channels still operating, President Hammond appeared calm and resolute. My fellow citizens, today, we face the greatest threat in human history. The Aldebaranian Empire believes us weak, divided, and helpless. They expect our surrender. She paused, her expression hardening. But humanity does not surrender. Throughout our history, we have faced seemingly insurmountable challenges, and we have always prevailed. Today will be no different. As she spoke, the Defiant silently rose from the ocean depths. Other concealed vessels, submarines, hidden aircraft, and orbital platforms disguised as space debris moved into predetermined positions. Each carried components of the Sunburst system, creating a global network that would act as one unified weapon. In moments, you will witness humanity's response. To those who threaten our existence, President Hammond continued, stay in your homes, remain calm, and remember this day not as the end of human independence, but as the beginning of a new chapter in our history. The broadcast ended. In the command center, Dr. Morgan looked at her watch. 53 minutes. Until their deadline. We don't wait, President Hammond said firmly. They've made their intentions clear. We strike now, while they still believe us helpless. She turned to the communications officer. Connect me to Captain Russell. On the bridge of the Defiant, Russell received the President's call. Madam President, Captain Russell, you are authorized to activate the Sunburst system. May God be with you and your crew. Russell nodded solemnly. Understood, Madam President. We're ready. He turned to his weapons officer, Lieutenant Karen Mills. Prepare to activate Sunburst on my command. Sunburst ready, Captain. Mills confirmed not above. Them, the Aldebaranian fleet, continued to move into attack formation. Their sensors detected no significant defensive measures from Earth, confirming their belief that the humans were technologically primitive compared to their empire. On the flagship, Grand Admiral Krell observed the planet with satisfaction. They've lost even their basic communication abilities in their panic, he noted to his officers. Pathetic. Prepare the first bombardment targeting. We'll start with their United Nations building as a demonstration. His weapons officer began entering coordinates. First target locked, Admiral. Weapons charging. In the command center, Dr. Morgan received the alert from their monitoring systems. They're preparing to fire on New York. President Hammond's expression remained steady. Captain Russell, execute now. On the Defiant, Russell took a deep breath. This was the moment humanity had prepared for over decades. Lieutenant Mills, activate Sunburst. Full deployment. Mills pressed her palm against the activation panel. Sunburst activating. Throughout the global network, the quantum technology. Hidden in satellites, underwater platforms, and ground installations came to life. A barely visible shimmer surrounded Earth as the quantum field established itself. On the alien flagship, an officer called out in alarm. Admiral, we're detecting an energy field forming around the planet. Krell moved to the sensor display. Impossible. Their technology isn't capable of. He never finished his sentence. As the Sunburst system reached full power, Captain Russell gave the final command that would determine Earth's fate. Let there be light. The moment Captain Russell spoke the words, "Let there be light," Earth's true power was unleashed. The Sunburst system activated fully, creating a quantum field that surrounded the planet like a transparent bubble. From the Defiance bridge, Russell and his crew watched as thin beams of brilliant blue-white energy shot upward from thousands of points around the globe. Each beam was precisely targeted, moving faster than the human eye could track. The Aldebaranian ships had no time to react. Their supposedly impenetrable shields meant nothing against Earth's quantum technology. The beams passed through them as if they weren't their dot in the first 5 seconds. Over 500 alien warships were disabled, their hulls sliced open. With surgical precision, another 5 seconds, and 500 more fell silent. The massive vessels broke apart, their power cores shutting down rather than exploding. Exactly as the Sunburst system was designed to do. Grand Admiral Krell stood, frozen on his flagship's bridge, watching in horror as his mighty fleet was systematically dismantled before his eyes. Alerts and alarms blared around him as his officers shouted reports in increasingly panicked voices. Sections 3 through 7 have lost all power. Weapon systems not responding. Shield generators completely bypassed. We've lost contact. With 800 ships, 900, 1,200. Krell slammed his fist on the command console. Return fire. All ships, fire everything you have at the planet. But the few ships that managed to launch weapons found their energy beams, and missiles simply absorbed by Earth's quantum field. The energy was redirected, strengthening the very defense system that was destroying them. In the Rocky Mountain Command Center, Dr. Morgan monitored the data streaming across her screens with calm satisfaction. Beside her, President Hammond and the assembled world leaders watched in awe as the most powerful invasion force the galaxy had ever seen was reduced to floating debris in less than 30 seconds. "Incredible," whispered the Chinese premier. "Not a single ship escaped." Dr. Morgan tapped her screen. "Not entirely accurate. We deliberately left the flagship intact, though disabled. As planned, we've preserved their command structure for questioning." President Hammond nodded. "Captain Russell, status report." On the Defiance Bridge, Russell stood tall as he responded. "Madam President, the Sunburst system performed exactly as designed. 1,999 Aldebaranian vessels have been neutralized. The flagship has been selectively disabled. Life support and internal gravity remain functional, but weapons, propulsion, and communications are offline." "Casualties?" Hammond asked. "Zero on our side," Russell replied. "As for the Aldebaranians, our scans indicate approximately 95% of their crews are still alive in escape pods or intact sections of their vessels. The Sunburst was programmed to minimize loss of life while maximizing tactical effectiveness." Dr. Morgan allowed herself a small smile. "The entire battle lasted 27 seconds, even faster than our projections." President Hammond turned to address the other world leaders. "Phase 1 is complete. Now we move to Phase 2, first contact on our terms." On the main screen, they could see the Aldebaranian flagship floating helplessly in orbit, surrounded by the debris of what had been the mightiest fleet in the known galaxy. Smaller Earth vessels, hidden until now, began moving toward the disabled ship. "Captain Russell," Hammond continued, "you will lead the boarding party. Remember our protocols. This is not about revenge. This is about establishing humanity's place in the galactic community." "Understood, Madam President," Russell replied. "My team is ready." On the Defiant, Russell addressed his boarding team. 20 men and women in sleek black armor stood before him, their faces serious but confident. Each wore a personal quantum shield generator, smaller versions of the technology that had just saved Earth. "Our mission is clear," Russell told them. "We board the Aldebaranian flagship, secure Grand Admiral Krell and his command staff, and bring them back for diplomatic negotiations. We use minimum force. These people have just witnessed the destruction of their entire fleet. They're already defeated. We don't need to humiliate them further." Commander Rodriguez stepped forward. "Captain, the transport is ready. Personal quantum shields are charged and stable." Russell nodded. "Let's move out." The transport vessel detached from the Fae, Defiant, and accelerated toward the Aldebaranian flagship. Unlike the bulky, utilitarian ships humans had been launching into space for decades, this craft moved with a grace and speed that betrayed its advanced technology. No longer was there any need to hide humanity's true capabilities. Inside the crippled Aldebaranian flagship, chaos reigned. Emergency lighting cast an eerie red glow over the bridge as officers frantically tried to restore systems that refused to respond. Grand Admiral Krell stood at the main viewport, staring at the remains of his once mighty armada. "How?" he whispered, more to himself than to his officers. "How could a primitive species do this?" His second-in-command approached cautiously. "Admiral, we're being boarded. A human vessel has attached to Docking Bay 3. Our security forces are unable to respond. The weapons won't fire." Krell turned slowly. For the first time in his long military career, he felt something close to fear. So this is how the great Aldebaranian Empire falls. Not to a worthy adversary, but to a species we thought primitive. The bridge doors slid open, and Captain Russell entered, flanked by his team. The humans carried weapons, but kept them lowered. The personal quantum shields around each of them shimmered slightly, making it clear that any attack would be futile. Russell stepped forward, his expression neutral. Grand Admiral Krell, I am Captain Frank Russell of Earth's Global Defense Initiative. Your fleet has been neutralized, and your ship is under our control. Krell drew himself up to his full height, towering over Russell. If you've come to kill me, human, do it quickly. I won't beg for mercy. Russell shook his head. We haven't come to kill you, Admiral. We've come to talk. Earth is not interested in conquest or revenge. We defended ourselves, nothing more. Confusion spread across Krell's alien features. You destroyed 2,000 warships in less than a minute, and you claim you're not conquerors? We only want peace, Russell replied, but peace on equal terms. The days when Earth could be threatened or intimidated are over. He gestured toward the door. You and your command staff will come with us to Earth. There, you'll meet with our leaders to discuss the future relationship between humanity and the Aldebaranian Empire, or what remains of it. Krell looked around at his defeated officers, then back at the confident humans before him. Slowly, realization dawned on his face. You knew we were coming, he said. You were prepared. For how long? Russell allowed himself a small smile. Longer than you'd believe, Admiral. Much longer. As the boarding party escorted the Aldebaranian leaders from the bridge, Earth began broadcasting to its people again. President Hammond's voice reached every corner of the planet. Citizens of Earth, the threat has been neutralized. Our planet is safe. Today marks not just a victory, but the beginning of humanity's emergence onto the galactic stage. We are no longer alone in the universe, and we will never again be at the mercy of those who would threaten our freedom. 1 week after the failed invasion, Grand Admiral Krell sat across from President Hammond in the newly established Galactic Affairs Complex beneath the Rocky Mountains. The room was designed to be neutral yet impressive, a clear message that humans were now equals on the cosmic stage. Dr. Morgan and Captain Russell flanked the president, while Krell's remaining officers stood behind him. The terms are non-negotiable, President Hammond said calmly. The Aldebaranian Empire will immediately free all subjugated worlds. You will provide us with complete star charts, technological data, and access to your communication networks. Krell's face remained expressionless, but his large eyes betrayed his inner conflict. And if I refuse? Dr. Morgan slid a tablet across the table. On the screen played footage of the Sunburst system obliterating the invasion fleet. We've already downloaded most of this information from your flagship's computers. This isn't a negotiation, Admiral. This is us being courteous enough to inform you of what's already happening. Krell looked down at the tablet and back at the humans. You don't understand what you're doing. There are forces in this galaxy far worse than the Aldebaranian Empire. We brought order. You brought slavery, Russell countered. We've reviewed your conquest records. Over 300 worlds, trillions of sentient beings forced to serve your empire. President Hammond leaned forward. But we're not like you, Admiral. We don't seek conquest. We seek alliance, genuine alliance, based on mutual respect. Krell scoffed. Pretty words from the species that just destroyed 2,000 warships in half a minute. We defended ourselves, Hammond replied firmly. Nothing more. And now we're offering you a choice. Help us establish peaceful contact with these worlds you've conquered, or remain in custody while we do it anyway. The Admiral was silent for a long moment. You've had this technology for how long? Long enough, Dr. Morgan said. We detected your communications network 27 years ago. We've been preparing ever since. And you kept it secret even from your own people, Krell observed. Perhaps we're not so different after all. Hammond shook her head. We kept it secret to prevent panic and to maintain the element of surprise. Now, our people know everything. Outside, the complex, Earth was celebrating. The revelation of humanity's true technological capabilities and their victory over the alien invaders had united the planet in a way nothing else could. Ancient enemies were now allies, working together to establish Earth's new role in the galaxy. What will happen to me? Krell finally asked. That depends on you, Russell replied. Cooperate, and you'll serve as an advisor to our new Terran alliance. Your knowledge of galactic politics would be valuable. Refuse, and you'll remain incomparable. But permanent detention. Before Krell could respond, an aide rushed into the room and whispered urgently to Dr. Morgan. We've just received responses, Dr. Morgan announced, her face breaking into a rare smile. 7 worlds formerly under Aldebaranian control have answered our message. They're eager to establish diplomatic relations. President Hammond couldn't hide her satisfaction. You see, Admiral, the moment these worlds learned they had a choice, they chose freedom. Krell's shoulders slumped slightly. The empire I served for 200 years, gone in a week. Not gone, Hammond corrected. Transformed. You can be part of that transformation. 4. The first time, uncertainty crossed the Admiral's face. What would that entail? Helping us understand the species you've encountered. Advising us on potential threats. Working to establish a galactic democracy rather than an empire. After a moment of thought, Krell nodded slowly. I will cooperate. Not for your sake, but because I've seen what your weapons can do. Better to be your ally than your enemy. 2 months later, Captain Russell stood on the bridge of a new vessel. No longer the USS Defiant, he now commanded Earth's first true interstellar ship, the Terran Alliance vessel Emissary. Sleek and powerful, it incorporated both human quantum technology and compatible systems from the Aldebaranian ships. All systems ready, Captain, reported Commander Rodriguez. Quantum drive is stable. Russell nodded, looking at the crew around him. They represented every nation on Earth, working together seamlessly. Our first mission is to make contact with the Centauri Collective. According to Krell's information, they've been resisting Aldebaranian control for decades. Do we anticipate a hostile reception? Rodriguez asked. Possibly at first, Russell admitted. But once they understand we've ended the Aldebaranian threat, I expect they'll be more welcoming. On a screen, President Hammond appeared for a final briefing. Captain Russell, remember that you represent not just Earth, but the newly formed Terran Alliance. Your primary mission is diplomatic, not military. Understood, Madam President? Dr. Morgan has some updates for you as well. The screen split to show Dr. Morgan in her lab. Captain, we've enhanced the sunburst system on your vessel. It now has greater range and precision. But more importantly, we've adapted it to serve non-military functions. You can use it to clear space debris, generate protective fields around vulnerable planets, even help restore damaged ecosystems. Russell smiled. Turning swords into plowshares, Doctor? Exactly. The same technology that defended Earth can now help rebuild worlds the Aldebaranians damaged. As the communication ended, Russell turned to his navigator. Set course for the Centauri system. Standard quantum transit. The emissary rose gracefully from Earth's surface, accelerating through the atmosphere. As it reached orbital space, the quantum drive engaged, creating a controlled field that allowed the ship to slip between the fabric of space-time itself. In her office, Dr. Morgan watched the ship depart on her monitors. Beside her stood a holographic representation of the known galaxy, with hundreds of worlds highlighted, all former subjects of the Aldebaranian Empire, now potential allies. Do you think they'll all join our alliance? Asked her assistant. Morgan shook her head. Some will, some won't. That's the difference between us and the Aldebaranians. We're offering them a choice. In a special chamber nearby, former Grand Admiral Krell reviewed data on a dozen worlds that had already pledged to join the Terran Alliance. His expression was unreadable as he added notes to each file, providing insights on their cultures and histories. Still getting used to working for the humans? Asked his guard, a friendly young soldier named Paul Davis. I'm not working for humans, Krell corrected. I'm working with them. There's a difference. Davis nodded. Fair enough. Krell turned back to his work, but paused after a moment. I've conquered hundreds of worlds across 3 galaxies. Not once did I imagine being defeated in less than a minute by a species I considered primitive. He shook his head. The universe is full of surprises. Across Earth, humanity looked to the stars with new eyes. No longer were they alone in the universe. No longer were they vulnerable. In less than a year, they had gone from a species confined to one planet to the founders of a growing galactic alliance. As the emissary traveled toward its first diplomatic mission, carrying the hopes of Earth with it, the message was clear to any watching eyes in the cosmos. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and they were a force to be reckoned with.